What's up, guys? So we got another awesome episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh show. Awesome guests from Sanctum Squad here as well, and we've got a lot to talk about today. So I think we're gonna have a very, very good episode. But to start off with, let's start off light because I feel like we're gonna get very depressed later in the episode. We're talking about what's going on in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. So let's start off light. Let's just talk about okay. Snap question: who was your first Yugi tuber, guys? We'll go around the table. So start with Daniel. Who was your first Yugi tuber that you saw?
I think the first Yugi tuber I remember actively watching the content of, and I'm talking like this is when I was still playing like casually, like with friends. I think it was DP Waigio. I thought we're talking the days before all the meme interjection into the comments, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was the first one, and then I stopped playing, and then I got back into the game at a proper level. I think DZ actually. I have to give a shout out to DZ. I think that was probably the content creator that I watched the most initially, just because I think his style of content is. It's very easy to consume. It's the sort of thing where you can listen to it and you can be doing something else as well, which was like I'd have it on while I was working in the background. And I think a lot of his takes are really good as well. Mm-hmm. And then from there, you just kind of expand into the greater pool of YouTubers. But yeah, DZ is probably my most, the one that sticks to mind the most when I was actually started playing properly.
Wow, gosh. DZ, what about you, Nathan?
So for me, it was mainly like I grew up with sort of the OGs of Yu-Gi-Oh content for YouTube, and that was, I think it was Asian Eyes White Dragon and Galactic God when I was still in school, because I was still
back in the Slayer days. Yeah,
gosh, yeah, that's really taking it back.
The OGs, and then this is when I was like more collecting and less playing. But when I first, because I took a break around about, I started getting into, I think I played my first locals in 2014, 2015, and then I took a really long break. And I didn't start playing again until around about 2019, I'd say, like late 2019. And the Yugi people who actually brought me back into playing competitively and stuff, I think that was Nim Nim, because I really liked sort of the style of vlog he was doing, which was having the gameplay as well as showing like the bits and pieces around getting to the tournament, like deck building theory, all this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then he was also doing sealed only as well, which was definitely bringing that fun back into opening packs, building a deck, all these kind of things that you would like to do as a kid, whilst keeping it competitive as well. So,
I think the thing about that sealed only series, because that was such a catalyst for a whole different avenue of content. And I think there's a lot of channels that wouldn't be. To be honest, I think there's a lot of channels that wouldn't be here, and I think there's even a lot of channels that are a lot bigger, where you can't kind of deny the influence that sealed only series has had on them. I think the biggest thing about that it was something that people who were getting into the game were able to do vicariously, like through Nim Nim and the content. And I've said this before, like I think in terms of the cinematography and like the actual quality of the video, I think like Nim Nim's is like so good. Ruggles as well, his content is unmatched in terms of the cinematography, the way it's presented, everything like that. But yeah, sorry, I was just adding on to that. I am a little sleepy today, so
it's cool. I think it was also like just to add in this, like it was the amount of care. Like previously, most of these YouTubers had only recorded stuff in like bedrooms and in the comfort of their own homes, whilst these guys were actually doing traveling vlogs, I guess you would call it, and they were actually showing you the journeys that they would go to like these YCSs, and also you would have like really beautiful cinematography where they would show you things that were going on outside of Yu-Gi-Oh as well, which is something that we hadn't really seen because most of these Yu-Gi-Oh were only showing just the Yu-Gi-Oh content and not all the stuff around it, and that's that was kind of nice to see.
It definitely was, yeah.
What about you, Fabs? What's your Genesis arc?
Oh, so so funny. I think the first one I saw was actually Farfa. One of my mates, he's just very into kind of like streamers and stuff, and so when me and my friends all used to play Yu-Gi-Oh, Farfa just happened to be who we got into first. And the funny thing is, I even remember like the gap between me discovering Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube and me playing Yu-Gi-Oh was so big So the first video I remember of Farfus was this video about Sky Strikers. It was like inside the mind of a Sky Striker player. I don't know if you guys
Oh yeah, I know that one. Yeah,
that was one of the most hilarious videos I've seen in my life. Absolutely hilarious. So
I loved that series. He did quite a few, I think.
He did.
Inside Zodiaca, Burning the Abyss, etc.
Yes, it was so funny. Like it was just everything about that video was just like really, really good. It's a shame because I'll be honest, I didn't really enjoy much of the rest of his content, but I did really like that video. So I definitely relate that a lot. But I'd say that was probably my first one, and then also DPYGO as well was another early one. His content just in general was just solid. Like he kind of me and you were chatting about this before, Daniel, but he really pioneered that meme format, which is kind of like a lot of people are doing now with other content, but he's been doing this kind of like for ages, and he's really
from
good at it.
From time.
Yeah.
His content, I think, the way it was, and I think the way it still is today, it feels like it was made for something like TikTok or YouTube Shorts.
Literally.
And I think it's really. I think that's why he has so many fans and so many subscribers, because it's so easy to consume the content, and obviously like. He has an engaging personality, he injects memes, things like that. He's not a content creator I watch anymore, but I have to show respect for him being like one of the first content creators I did watch.
It reminds me of a bit of like Vlad's new shorts, because Vlad's always been someone who's been around like, the YouTube community here.
Table 500 days and whatnot.
Yeah, and he's only just started doing, because I remember it's only recently that he started doing it, but he was doing like deck profile shorts on YouTube and also on TikTok for like Despia, Brave Despia. He did one for branded Tri Brigade, and then he also did one for Tri Brigade Sprite, and it was just like really short, funny content.
Like short, sweet, to the point. Don't need to like overdress stuff up.
Mm-hmm. It's like what you need for the TikTok era, and I think DPYGO was definitely, because some of his videos now is definitely, when you look back at like his older stuff, as you said, Dan, that content is definitely aimed more for, you know, the TikTok area and like people who enjoy that kind of meme content. So I think if you definitely set yourself up early and establish what you are as a content creator, then it will definitely make it easier in the long run. And then also if you start setting the trend way before the trend is even beginning, then you'll just have an easy time.
100%. And it's good as well, because one thing I do like is that with some of the creators, at least, I feel like the quality hasn't gone down as well. So it's like they started there, like, again, that's another person with DPYGO, that's quite good. And I think another person that I would definitely actually say this for, even though I wouldn't say their quality is super high quality, I'd say it's a similar thing, and that's Dazif. It's kind of like they have their formula and they've stuck with it since the beginning, which is nice. It's refreshing to have that kind of consistent, like, this is what I can expect from this person over and over again.
100%.
Really nice.
100%. I think that's why Rank 10 YGO, he's so successful as well. He's probably one of my favourite YouTubers. I know that he probably wouldn't describe himself as a YouTuber, because it's not like the typical kind of things, but like, you know, the Archetype Archive. I think the way he just describes stuff is just hilarious to me, and I think he has so many good points as well. I think a lot of it is about making sure you stick to a good formula, and I don't want to say not deviating, because it's always good to try new ideas, and without innovation, you know, we wouldn't have a lot of these different channels and series and what have you. But I do agree with what you're saying there, Fabs, 100%.
Well, kind of linked on that, so I was recently watching a stream, I don't know if you guys caught it, and this is from DPYGO, and he had some opinions on the current format, which, I'll be honest, I didn't agree with at all. So I'll share it with you guys. But basically, it was a couple of things.
I watched a couple of clips of it, just because you mentioned it before the cast. So I've given DPYGO his flowers, and now I'm going to talk about what I don't like about the content. So he openly admits that he doesn't play Yu-Gi-Oh. And I think personally, it's like, if you don't play Yu-Gi-Oh, how can you have an opinion on the competitive format if you don't actually play it? That's kind of basically all I have to say about it, really. Like, in terms of that, but I didn't watch the whole stream, so maybe there was something I missed. I don't know.
Yeah, so I'll quickly run through what he said. So to start off with, essentially, he said he likes the fact that it's a tier 0 format, and and now when he was saying he likes it, it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of I like it because you don't like it, as opposed to I like it because it's balanced or something. And so his idea was this. His opinion is this: it's what he likes about tier 0 formats, or what he finds funny, is that as players we create a tier 0 format and then we complain about it, and he just finds that really funny, so that's why he loves it while it happens. That was his first kind of hot take. Then the next thing that he meant on to say is that essentially, I'm having a bit of a brain fart now, hold on, I wrote it down exactly what he mentioned. So the next thing that he mentioned was that he was criticizing people for essentially caring about a card game. So he was saying some people, they'll be saying on Facebook, or they'll saying on this or saying on that, like, oh, I'm not happy about the state of the game. And he had the opinion that it was childish, almost. He was like, oh, you have more important things in life to worry about than a card game. And that's kind of like, yeah, it's a weak thing to worry about. And I really didn't like either of these takes. So you on, Dan. You on.
No, sorry, carry on. I was just kind of just going like, ugh.
Yeah, so
yeah.
So I think the first problem I had with his takes was just the notion that I don't like the attitude of kind of you're not allowed to care about something. Like,
I think that's a horrible attitude to have about anything. I think that's such a. I don't even think toxic is the right word. I think just negative. I think that's really. If you don't have things to care about, what is the?
Yeah.
Deep, but what's the point of anything if you don't have things you don't care? If you don't have things you care about.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nathan, carry on.
Yeah, go on.
This could be a hobby to like some people, but other people, this could be what they want to do for their whole life. Like, this is literally, we've seen people dedicate hours and almost like months into learning the game, and people who travel millions and millions of miles overseas even to go and play like YCSs and big events, and you're saying it's just a card game, you shouldn't be that. There are people who literally dedicate hours of their life to just get better at this game. So surely, and it goes with the phrase as well, like, you shouldn't let anyone else tell you what you can and can't do. You might like something that someone else might like. And some people may get a little bit further than others, but you shouldn't discourage them because they're great at what they do.
Yeah, but I think on the flip side of that coin, like I said, he's someone who's said that he doesn't play the game competitively. So why is he going to understand why people are getting annoyed about it? I think anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, actually, and I didn't even think of it from that perspective. But yeah, actually, I'm sure to him it's like it's not that deep. You're not really into the game, but then it's like if you don't play the game, of course it's not that deep to you. But then I guess the other thing as well is as well that I think it's there's a lot of YouTubers that in the past have had the mentality of kind of like, yeah, it's just a game and stuff like this, and like you shouldn't care that much. And sometimes in my head, it just feels a bit disingenuous when you're a YouTuber. This is your source of income. I don't know about you guys, but as far as I'm aware, I don't think he does any content that's not Yu-Gi-Oh based. And
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like when I hear things like, again, when I hear those kind of that kind of mentality of you shouldn't care that much and this, that, it's like, but this is, I mean, we're only here because we're only watching you because of it. We're not watching you because your opinions on something else are so powerful and so strong. And so
definitely. I'd like to say, for the record, I think DPYGO is a pretty decent creator. Yeah. I'm not trying to, take a shit on him in any way. I'm just kind of debating the point. But yeah, I think there's the phrase "it's just a game." Like you could say that about any anything. Sort of esport, really. You could say that about football. You could say that about hockey, rugby, whatever. I don't agree with that at all. And I think to be honest as well, that take is a bit harmful in terms of for people's mental states. Like Nate said, there are some people they may not play the game on that super competitive level, but it may be like one of their only social interactions at the point of their week. They have extra new factors going on in their life, and they go to locals for a week and just hang out with their friends and we happen to be in a format that a lot of people will not like. So it's understandable why people would get a little bit frustrated about that if they only want to play the game, not casually, but they don't want to play the game on that meta level, which is completely fine. And they look at, say this is a creator that they like, and they tune into a stream and they get told, "Oh, you're not meant to. Why do you care about this?" And it's like, oh, I don't like being told that I'm silly for caring about anything, because I think nothing is silly to care about if it's something that you genuinely care about. And I think that kind of saying that, maybe I'm deep in it, I don't know, but I think that's kind of putting people down, maybe unintentionally, maybe not. But yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I don't even think I don't think you're silly at all for saying that. I don't think you are. I think again, we all like the game. We all want to see it better. And also, there's nothing wrong with caring a lot about something as well, I'd say. There are other things in life that are more important than Yu-Gi-Oh! I can definitely say that. But I can 100% guarantee that even though there's other things in my life that are more important than Yu-Gi-Oh!, it doesn't mean that, I want the game to do well. But I think what we should move on to actually is the format he was specifically referring to, and
yes,
the
one we've all been waiting for. Mill 18 feel great.
Yeah, so
literally put entire deck in graveyard, then put it back.
Yeah, grass to 3 in it. Grass to 3.
Yeah. So did how many of us actually watched YCS Pasadena?
I didn't watch the whole YCS.
I saw a screenshot of the stream with everyone's deck on the table, and I was like, nah.
You're like, that's enough for me. I'm okay.
That's enough.
I didn't watch the full stream, but I watched. I dipped in and out of it over the course of the weekend, and I saw the top 32 standings, and I was like, "Yeah, can anyone say 2017 again?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that we've gone from having really, really powerful decks. Like Tier Elements was always like a really powerful deck anyway, and then it's just gone to like it becoming you either play this or you play a deck that can play Shifter. That's literally you can't play either or now, and then that's why you see so much Thunder as well in the top tables, because it is that deck that can actually contend.
Yeah, it's the new Draco.
Yeah. I always find it funny as well when people have a problem with a deck like Flunder as well, because genuinely, I don't like Flunder, but when people complain about Flunder and then they don't complain about decks like Tier, it confuses me. It's like, isn't it frustrating to get clapped by Tier anyway? Like, at least you're getting clapped in a slightly different way. Like, I don't know.
I didn't hate Flunder as well. Like, it was a really problematic deck because it's so flimsy. It dies to a single interaction, but if they go uninterrupted, they can literally just steamroll you.
Yeah.
And it's because they have stuff like Dimensional Barrier. They have the
D-Shifter. They got the Advent. Yeah,
they have the Barrier Statue. They have the Winds Quick Play, which means that they can basically banish any card that they want from the deck and gain 500 in time. They can. They have access to Riser. All this kind of stuff, and also Shifter as well, because that's the main selling point. But the fact that the deck can still be played now in a format of milling your entire deck into your graveyard is just...
It's quite mad when you think about it.
Yeah. The deck or not going back to it.
I can't lie. The interest. And by the way, for anyone listening, if you're wondering why I haven't made any deck profiles or anything, it's because if you need to see a Tier Shizu deck, there are like 12 identical decks you can go and look at online. I'm not going to do it. So just as a notice, in case anyone was wondering why I'm being lazy and I'm not making any issues in Tier. No, there's plenty. But
on the subject of that, sorry, very quickly before we go any further, I would like to congratulate Fabs on his top 8 with branded Tier Elements before Magnificent Mavens came out. Shout outs.
Thank you. It's funny as well, that tournament. So I was originally meant to be going into that tournament playing, what was it? I think it was Mathmech. As you guys know, I've been playing Mathmech for like the whole format, but like literally the day before the tournament. No, it wasn't Mathmech. I was going to play Draco Slayer. But then the day before the tournament, I played against zombies with Draco Slayer, and I could not out a defense position monster in Draco Slayers. I don't know. There's this zombie monster. I don't know what it's called, but basically, when a zombie monster is destroyed, it could be destroyed. It banishes itself and special summons itself. And so when a zombie monster would be destroyed, it banishes itself. If it's banished, it special summons itself, and it can do this from hand or graveyard. So,
I think I know the one you're about, but I can't think of the name.
Yeah, and I couldn't out it. I legitimately couldn't out it. Like, and I just felt so pathetic. Like, it was just mad. Like, I was like, I can't out this. Like, and then I also nearly lost to Zephyra as well.
Oh yeah, that's quite bad.
Yeah, and so it was really, really peak. Like, I was at locals and I was genuinely angry because I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, my deck's good. Like, I know it's good. I had a strong tier, strong sprite matchup, and yet these random decks came along and I couldn't beat them. So like, I was like, you know what? No, I've had it. I'm not having this happen to me at a tournament. So.
I was just saying your Juggernaut's coming with that.
I was going to say, like, it seems like the same issue that Sprite had, because Sprite genuinely couldn't out anything that was above. What was it? If you've already used your pixies, like, you couldn't out anything above.
Yeah. Which is why I didn't. That's and that's one of the things. Actually, even though I do think Sprite has some inherently bad design decisions, I do like stuff like that. I do like the idea that if I'm playing a Sprite deck, I'm going to struggle to out very basic monsters because I'm playing a Sprite deck. That's how it should be. I think that makes sense. What I don't like is that, okay, yes, Sprite struggles to out big monsters, but the problem is one card gets you like 6 other cards, so it doesn't matter because I have so many cards that I can just do whatever the heck I like. I don't like that. Yeah. But what? So with the kind of Ijutsu tier element thing, it worries me for the format going forward. It really does, because I genuinely look at that deck and I don't think I've seen this big a power disparity in decks for a very long time. Like, really.
As long as I can remember, I think.
Yeah. Genuinely, I mean, and it makes sense why, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's just the first event of the format. This is why tier has such high representation. But what you have to remember is this doesn't happen every format. The first Sword Soul and Flunder game of their format, they didn't dominate this hard. The first initial tier and Sprite tournament of the format, they didn't dominate this hard. This is the YCS Pasadena results were the highest tournament topping, were the highest representation in top cut since Spiral format, since tier 0 Spiral format. And so yeah, it's just really, really worrying for me, because if this is what we have to look forward to, I don't know.
We knew this was coming. We knew this was coming sooner rather than later, because as soon as we saw that the Ishizu stuff was dropping in the OCG, we were just like, tier 0.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to fall off as heavily as Sprite, because you could see consistent. All you needed to hit was one tier name off of you, not even one tier name, one Ishizu name off of that mill, and you already knew that you were getting your deck's full resources going. It's mad as well that the OCG has had consistent hits to tiers, and we still have full power Shatralar over in the OCG, and full power Shatralar still can't contend with power crept to Ishizu and tiers.
Yeah.
And that's the issue that we've got to look forward to in the future. It's just like, are they going to have to hit this as hard or even harder than the OCG in order to make sure that we still have decks to play?
I think my biggest issue with the Ishizu tiers deck, though, I'm not really someone who moans that much about tier 0 formats. Like, it is kind of part of the game, and I think in any game that you play, there is always going to be not always, but there's always going to be times where there will be something that just is blatantly better than everything else. I think it's the fact that the deck is just like it takes so long, and there's so many different decision trees and stuff. Not even if you're playing it. Like, there's so many game ones that take like half an hour, and it's such an intricate deck to play. So, like, I couldn't play it. Hats off to the people who do play it, but it's fatiguing, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't even end on anything inherently that's that unfair. I don't think.
Yeah, it doesn't end on anything OP. It's just that it does so much, regardless of what happens. Kind of. It's what is it, like a Rukolos bounce? Or Rukolos negate, then it's got Crime, then maybe they'll have Kaleido as well, and the field.
Or like Dragus to Paleo.
It ends up with is the Rukolos. Sometimes a Baron if they get to their Diviner. You'll also have the Sometimes they'll play. Oh, I forgot his name. Kaleido Heart. Sometimes, and then also an elf. So it's not unfair, but it's not as unfair as like the list me and Jay came up with. It was like Toad, Baron, Drake, Rebellion, Elf, all this kind of stuff, and it was like kind of break my board sort of thing. No, it seems end board wise, it seems fairer, but the overall steps that it takes to get there are so long winded that you'll pretty much fry your brain just trying to think of the lines. I was also watching like side decking options for this, and you'll see players like Jesse Cotton and Pack siding in 3 copies of Ghost Sister and 3 copies of
the Ladybird.
The Ladybird, yeah, just to win in time because they know the games will stretch for that long. Like, if you know that the best players are playing those time-winning cards in their side deck, you know that it's going to be a weird format.
Yeah. And there's something to say, because on one hand you can kind of say like, oh well, again I always say it, look, that's in the game, well played to them for playing that kind of stuff in your deck and like having enough foresight to think I need to play significant time win cons to win in time. But it's not fun to deal with. Like that's
no.
Yeah.
As soon as you see someone like send a Dogwood or like hit a Ladybug, then you're just like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, it was hilarious. This is actually the regional that you and that you topped, Daniel. Well, I think you topped this one. Yeah, it was. It was one you topped with Runic that we went to. I can't remember where the heck we went to.
Northwich.
You guys went away, and wasn't it one of our mates was ending up playing against the tier player, and he was playing Runic.
So one of our mates, he was playing it, and then in time he burnt his opponent. And then his opponent literally burns him back, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, what's going on?
That game was so intense to watch. That was so fun.
Which is actually one thing I will admit, it was quite cool to watch. Like it was kind of like that back and forth, but at the same time, it's a bit silly when you think that the winner of that game was decided by 300 life points, and not like 300 life points. It was a tight game, 300 life points. Like you sent one card that does that, I sent this card that does that. Like,
It was also kind of like a luck variance as well because when you're literally praying that you hit that card, and it's the one card.
Curious did exist, like with some, but even then, like it is like Tier Elements is like before Rishizu, it was just lottery, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think so. Anyway.
It was. I wouldn't say it's lottery, but I would say I get what you mean. It was the essentially
more RNG.
Unless you had a way of getting into those mills, the deck felt so variance based that this is the reason why I didn't want to pick it up. Because me and Jake were talking about this for ages. And he was like, "Oh, I want you to build like the tier stuff," and I was like, "Okay, that's fine." So I went to the branded list and then pure, and then I looked at it and I was just like, "It's so variance based. Like you literally have to pray that you hit a name and not the name that you've already used in order to profit from those mills."
So I agree, but I think one good thing about the deck, and I think this is why it was so good, even though it was kind of variance, there was so many tools you could do to kind of shift that in your favor.
Yeah,
like even little things like you said, like in the branded variant, where it's like you can just send a tier name.
Yeah,
great.
I think
and stuff like that.
Really good thing as well because you had so many options at the very, very start when tiers were about. That's why we were going through it, and then Jake put me on to using the punks to. Obviously, Chaos Ruler and then Mill additionally, and that was kind of what put me onto the list. Was like when you're using broken cards like Chaos Ruler and Hulk and everything to basically get everything you need out of the deck, then you don't care what you mill at the end of the day. You are pretty much going to be setting up a consistent end board, near enough around about 75% of the time. But I think when you lost those tools, you then lost a lot of the consistency, and that's where I kind of fell off with the deck. Is that I liked the danger variant. Like the danger variant was nice, but it just felt like going back a format, format 2 back to Eternal format when we were playing Danger Thunder, and I don't know. There was a lot of things that to me, to my playing style, felt a bit off. I was tempted to go back to branded tier, but the payoff didn't seem worth it.
I don't think it's your play style, to be honest, Nath.
Yeah, it's not.
I think that's another thing I wanted to point out as well. In terms of picking up a deck, I think we touched on this very briefly on the last episode. But when you're picking up a deck like for an event, you need to know what kind of player you are. Because if you're looking at a Shizu Tears, for example, and you think, oh, this is the best deck, I'm going to do really well if I play this. Then you test it for like a week or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I'm pretty good with this. You take this to a 10-round event. My guy, you are gonna have such a migraine by about 1 o'clock.
Yeah. I honestly agree with that.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of suffering and sadness, to be honest. Yeah,
I did that with Nats, and honestly, I hated every single moment of it because of the fact that I took a deck that I thought was going to be the best deck in the room, and like pretty much I thought it was going to be, oh, this counters all of these decks. Oh, I'll be fine. I have enough practice with it, so on and so forth. Bearing in mind, me and Dan had tested the night before, and I lost around about 9 out of 10 of those games because I kept on getting my Mogi Ash. Every single time. It was Ash, Nimperm, Nib, Valence.
Just lucky, bro. What can I say?
And then I go into that event, burnt out already, and I dropped my round 6 because of the fact that I knew that it probably wasn't the better decision, and I fried my brain because of the fact of I was having to think way more heavily than I originally wanted to, I guess, because it was a deck that I'd taken that I thought that I was familiar with, but I wasn't comfortable with. And you can tell, depending on what type of player they are, how comfortable they become when they're playing said deck. Like, Dan, you'll always be really comfortable with control decks because you know how to pace your games.
Yeah.
You know, like, how to use your resources to the point where you know how to break through the board, how to basically get them
best points of that interaction, like where you're going to get the most value off one trap or whatever like that.
Exactly.
But you hand me a combo deck, and I'm going to be like, set 1 pass.
Exactly. I think you have to understand where your pluses are as a player, and like where you can draw those strengths from, and I think that's important. Like, feeding back into the conversation, like if you take a Shizu Tears into a event now and you're not 100% confident with the deck and you're not comfortable with it, you're just going to get battered out by people who've taken the time to actually understand the deck and feel comfortable with it, know every single interaction.
Yeah, one thing I will say about that tier Shizu tier mirror is that it is a very skill intensive mirror. However, it's a skill-intensive mirror, but not so much that I think it's not so unique and special that it invalidates every other matchup in the game. Like, I don't think, for example, being really good at the tier of Shizu mirror means that you're the best kind of player compared to being good at playing another kind of mirror and stuff, if you get what I mean. I think there's a lot of interaction in that mirror, but it's not specially unique. It's just another relatively complex and a kind of like highly mechanical Yu-Gi-Oh deck to play.
Yeah. I mean, let's face facts, boys. We are in a tier 0 format. Anyone who thinks that we're not is just coping.
It's so I find it funny as well how people quibble on the definition of tier 0 and they use it. It's like it's only 63% and stuff, and it's like, what are you saying? Like, shut up! Like, we all know what we're talking about.
Your logics are flawed.
Yeah, it's like I've been seeing that a lot on Facebook where people just be like, yeah, it's not a real tier 0 until this percent and that percent. The point when most people talk about a tier 0 format, the point most people are making isn't really necessarily exactly the percentage. The point they're making is that there's one deck dominating so hard that it's kind of like you can't even touch another deck. And I think
the percentage doesn't really like make that up. Like, it's like 67% of them like other people were. If it was only this percent, it doesn't matter. If like 75% of the people in the room are playing a Shizu tier, then you know. Like,
to be honest as well is that it's not even just that because it's top cut representation.
I was about to say
yeah. So it's like and that to me is even more of an indictment that it's a tier 0 format, because if 75% of people in the room are playing in one deck, that just means it's popular. But if 75% of the top tables are on that deck, that means that deck is beating everything else without even a chance.
Yeah.
You've just reminded me, Fabs, there. Do you remember, we're going back a few years now, do you remember the Danger Dark World FTK that Torb was?
I 100% remember that. I was so happy about that. Dark World is my first deck, and so I really love anything that's Dark World. But sorry, carry on.
No, but I was watching Jordan Gallagher's profile of it, I think, and or someone else's, because I know he was one of the players who did really well with it. But I remember someone saying that I think there was a really small amount of players who actually played that deck in that list, and over, I think it was over 60% of those players made top cut with it.
Yeah.
Like that, but yeah, people were like, "Oh, that wasn't a tier 0 format." No, it wasn't, but
that deck was really strong.
That representation is wild. It's nuts. Like, it tells you so hard that the deck is cut above the rest. And I think we're in a similar situation, just on a much bigger scale.
Yeah.
One of the stats that I remember Konami used to do, and they don't, or maybe it's just they only do it for some events, is they used to do conversion rate. And I think conversion rate is such a strong stat. So conversion rate, for anyone who's not aware, is essentially let's say 10 decks are playing, 10 people play Sword Soul, and then 6 of those Sword Souls top. That means it has a 60% conversion rate. So that's 60% of the people convert that into a top. And I think that would be such a powerful stat. That would be more, in my opinion, that would be more useful than most of the stats, because that would practically tell you how effective is this deck. If someone plays this deck, how good is it? Obviously, there's kind of some skewed results. For example, a good example is the Plants Sun Avalon deck. There were like 4 people playing it at Euros, and like 3 of them topped. So it's like, it can be skewed, but in general, I do think that would be a really, really good stat. If something like, I don't know, Hakuna Matata. I know you clearly are an incredible fan of this podcast, so yeah, please put that on your next video, and that'd be great. I think we'd all be very appreciative of it.
But, shout out to Hakuna Matata. As a Sovereign player, he's the OG.
He's so awesome. So it's like I've been following his Reddit posts for ages, and then when I suddenly saw he started doing YouTube videos, I was like, this guy is like, he's everything. Like I feel like the inner nerd needs in YouTube. Like, yeah, we get all the stats and stuff, and he's just such a cool guy. Like, yeah, he's a new creator as well, which I think he's really cool in how he kind of broke out and kind of did his thing. Like, I think he only actually started a few months ago. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be about to really heavily embarrass myself, so I'm gonna check.
I think it's been, in terms of like his breakout, I think I remember it being over COVID.
Yeah, like he's relatively well. It's 233 videos, so yeah, there goes me chatting. He's been about. That's probably just when I discovered his videos. Meanwhile, I thought he didn't exist before that. But no, he'd been putting in work for ages before that. But I knew him from his Reddit posts. So yeah, you're right. Started doing COVID 2 years ago is when he did his first video, and then he started doing his stat videos about a year ago. So yeah, but he's definitely one of my. I mean, yeah, I don't subscribe to a lot of creators, so I think for me it's like if I'm subscribed to a creator, it usually means that I really actually want to see their content. Everyone else, I just rely on the algorithm to shove their interesting videos in front of me.
I do get that. To be fair, I was having this conversation with another one of the Sanctum Squad members, to be honest, about in terms of what you want to get from a content creator in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh. Obviously, I looked at this with a different mind state, and before I joined Sanctum Squad, so it was like I used to subscribe to a lot of different content creators just to try and get as much content as possible, and try and keep my finger on the button XYZ. But then, to be honest, I think I was playing a little bit differently back then as well. Whereas now, like, I think I've got like a better testing circle around me. I think my knowledge of the game has increased. I'm feeling more confident in, not just absorbing knowledge, but knowing quality over quantity, I suppose, in terms of what you are taking in. So I think I've definitely cut down, not in how much content I watch, but just in terms of there's definitely specific creators who I'll go to for X reason. Yeah. Like if I want to watch a really detailed breakdown of things, I'll go to Hakuna Matata. If I want to watch a really decent vlog or something like that, I'll go to Ruggles or like Nim Nim. Or if I want to watch something that's just like a little bit more chill, a little bit more relaxed, but they've still got the what's the word I'm looking for? They've still got the competitive backing behind them, like to know that these guys know what they're talking about, but the content is obviously just more chill and more easy to absorb than I go to a channel like Crush Cards or something like that. But you can apply this to a lot of things in life, I think. Maybe that's just me taking my minimalist lifestyle into every single aspect of my life. I don't know.
No, I agree. I think how you put, and also part of it is because it's like as we've grown older and stuff, it's like you haven't got time to just watch everything in the world, so you need to have kind of specific people who you're going to, and they're just giving you what you want from
for real, man. For real.
Yeah, I also do like Crush Cards as well. Crush Cards are one channel that I also really, really enjoy watching as well. I think
shout out to Crush Cards, man. I think there was a point I wanted to touch on last episode, but I didn't really get into it. Like, I don't know if any of you guys follow head-to-head battles.
I used to.
Yeah, they've been popping off. To be fair to them, again, they're a channel. They kind of like came out of the they came out swinging in terms of their quality from the get go. Like it was really high quality vlogs, things like that.
Yeah.
But it just seems like they just constantly just get like not. I don't think abuse is the right word, but people just saying, "Oh, you only get big because there's a girl in the thumbnails," and it's like, dude, you do realize that she is actually like a Yu-Gi-Oh player, and like she actually like has decent event records and a knowledge of the game, and it's not just a thumbnail machine. Like,
Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes I want to share an opinion, and then I'm going to be so careful because I could cause a lot of problems by saying certain things. But
say what's in your mind, bro. Like we're having a debate, man.
so I agree that because again, as someone who used to watch them, I don't watch them anymore because it was kind of just like oversaturation of the same kind of content creator that I was watching. But
Sure.
I agree that both of them. So was it Susu and I can't remember what the other one.
Gen.
Yeah, I agree that they're both good players and stuff like that. But I will say that it would be disingenuous, in my opinion, to. I mean, look, if you've got it, flaunt it. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
So
I don't.
yeah, it would. I'm not gonna.
I mean, if you're gonna have that kind of, if
Yeah.
you're going to, display stuff, then
Yeah, and I would say that look, there's another female creator, and I can't remember what her name is. It's this blonde European chick, and she's a very, very strong player. She's got a lot of tops, and I don't think she's got as many subscribers. If I could remember her name, she recently did a video with Slim YGO, or I'm actually gonna get her name up.
Shout out to Slim.
It was either Slim or DB Grinder, one of the two. She recently did it. No, it wasn't Slim YGO. I'm completely. DB Grinder. Let me quickly I'm gonna get the name up, and then I'll tell you guys exactly who I meant. Let's see, is it gonna come up? Okay, no. I'll figure out the name at some point and tell you guys. But anyway, there's another female creator, for example, and her thumbnails aren't like that, and I think that has something to do with it as well, because when I first saw the head-to-head battles channel, the thing that caught my eye was the thumbnail. It wasn't some unique and special video, and so while I do think it's not good, I don't think it's good that for anyone to kind of criticize or to act like she's just titties on cards. I also think that again, it's like
YouTube at the end of the day. You are fighting to get your video picked.
Like they know what they're doing. It's not an accident. It's not an accident that she's on almost every thumbnail wearing a top. I have no problem with it personally.
I don't entirely agree with that comment. I don't think, but I do see where you're coming from.
When you say you don't agree with it, what do you mean?
So what I mean is, like, if say me and you are making a channel,
Yes.
you're a boy, I'm a girl, I know, weird, but I'm doing a lot of the content, and I'm like, okay, I want to be a bit more. Put myself forward on the channel. You're like, all right, cool. We'll put you on the thumbnails. Like, it makes sense because of, you're doing more with the channel, so we'll do that. And then people start to just be like, oh, you only put this on the channel because you've got tits or whatever. Like, I am a very intelligent Reddit mod. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. I just think if you're looking at a YouTube creator, you should just watch them for the content and know the reason. I think personally, but yeah, shout outs to everyone who isn't a straight white male in the YouTubing community.
Yeah, see, I get what you mean. I think my point is just that I'm always it's that in the idealistic world, then yes, it's kind of like yes, we only watch for the purity and sanctity of Yu-Gi-Oh and this and that, and the competitive integrity, but it's also that. As I think, as we all know our YouTube analytics, we all know our demographics for YouTube, and we tailor what we do on YouTube to that demographic. I would be shocked if their demographic wasn't at least 75% male men who are, I don't know what age to be in, so I don't think the age matters that much. But
I think,
and so I think it I'd just be shocked if they weren't aware that having her on some of the thumbnails does help. It's not an accident. It's not just because she was. Because again, that's why I brought the other female creator up, because I don't know what her titties look like. I don't know if she's got a banging body. But the point is that if she did, you wouldn't know because it's not on any of her thumbnails.
I mean,
I think it's. Sorry, Nathan. Go on. I've talked a lot. Go on.
With the card game that we play as well does have some questionable art, and like, there are obviously the weebs out there who are attracted to that sort of thing. So I guess it's sort of they're aiming for the target audience, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it could just be the case of if you just like the.
Maybe she's just a girl who likes Yu-Gi-Oh. Did guys ever think of that?
That is true. The thing is, as well, is I 100% don't doubt that she has her own personal. Because again, it's like I used to watch their content and stuff, so it's like I don't doubt that at all. I really want to find this other creator's name. I'm gonna. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
It wasn't Stealthy Peach, was it?
I don't think so. I feel like I would have.
Annie the EV. I'm trying to think.
Let's see. No, it's not her.
Um,
She did a video
Anyway.
with actually, you know what? GGYGO, that was who it was. GGYGO. So I'm gonna go on his channel, and he's going to have. Yeah, I'm very sorry about this for people who are listening because I know this is a horrible way to do a listening show. Talk about stuff that is on my screen, but right, Shadow Rabbit YGO. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, because she's actually a creator that I've loved her videos for ages, and for example, she's on if. So again, this is a shame for you guys who are at home, but for the people who are on the podcast, I'm just showing them what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Right. So we're gonna look at all of their thumbnails for head-to-head battles and all of the thumbnails for Shadow Rabbit, and that's just to illustrate my point. Again, this is no hate to Jen at all. I'm not criticizing. Look, as I said, if you got it, flaunt it. Feel free. It's your channel. But
half and half. I wouldn't say it's the majority.
So if we look at head-to-head battles and their thumbnails, though having said that, I will say that I can't lie. Susie was not on nearly as many thumbnails before. But in any case, yeah. As we scroll down, this is one channel, and then we scroll down Shadow Rabbit's channel. This is another channel. Is there a difference between the two? Can we admit that there is a considerable difference between the two?
I think it's. I don't know whether it's a marketing scheme, whether it's something that she feels confident, unless it's something that she feels confident with. But there is definitely.
Yeah, again, and again, it's like my point is that it's not a bad thing to have that. It's more just kind of. That's why, even though I don't. Though having said that, Daniel, is it that people were insulting her or like trying to say that she's like a titty streamer or something?
I think from what I've gathered, because you know, as myself not being a straight white male, you know, I try and look at everything that doesn't involve straight white males. But yeah, essentially, I think the thing was that just people are just like, they're literally the only reason you get subscribers is because you know you clickbait like with your body.
I don't agree with that. I think you only have to watch one or two of their videos to realize they're actually quite interesting. Like I said, they have good videos. I don't think that's the case at all.
No, not at all.
I also really kind of like the thing that I do like about that channel as well is that Susie's not a typical deck builder. Like he won't play decks that are meta. He'll play decks that are just for fun.
Yeah,
and he'll win with those.
Yeah, recently there was at a tournament I remember, and he was playing Gren Marjorie while everyone else was playing meta stuff, and he was just clapping left. I think he got to like the quarters or something.
He got the top 16.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind his matchups were absolutely ass for his opponent. Like genuinely, it was because of the fact he had Shifter. It's so free.
Yeah.
And his opponents didn't really know what to do. I think his round one opponent also really hard scooped the match as well. Like,
okay, yeah.
Is it like through it? But sometimes that's just the way that the event works. Like sometimes your deck does really, really well. Sometimes you're playing against really bad opponents. Sometimes stuff happens.
Yeah.
Like you just get lucky sometimes.
It does just happen like that sometimes. But
how did we get from Ishizu Tears to this?
This is what Yu-Gi-Oh has driven us to.
We're going back to Gren Marjorie. That's what we're doing.
I'm so sad I can't play Gren Marjorie. Gren Marjorie has always been one of my favourite kind of strategies. I just like the kind of back to old school.
Speaking about Gren Marjorie, you just reminded me of that insane Gren Marjorie mirror match we had back in the day, and you had no cards in deck, and you had one card in hand, and you topped it, and it was super poly, and you beat me.
You lucky bugger.
It was insane.
Yeah.
I remember the last time that I played Fabs, and it was it was the first time I've ever played you, and it was when we were playing at Leicester Regional.
Oh, God.
I know, so mad because I was literally there, and I had game in hand, and I punted and I threw it because I didn't read what Master Cerberus did. And then, because I could have activated Dark Ruler, and then it would have wiped your board, and you would have had nothing.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda, innit, mate? Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
just
Oh,
just mechanical outplays by me. Clearly, that's just the kind of player I am. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that does give me onto that does put me onto one point I did kind of want to discuss today. So obviously we are in a tier 0 format. I think this is a great format to play Rogue and enjoy yourself and have some fun. So I think it's a good thing for people to always have that kind of little thing in the binder there that they can just pull out when they're a bit bored of the format. So I pose the question to you boys: what's the deck you always find yourself coming back to?
Branded.
Did you say branded?
Okay, so
I was gonna say you can't have that as an answer. It's been out for like a year.
Yeah, I'm not having that. No, I'm not having that.
No.
Oh,
Come on.
okay. So if you
Just because you bought it and sold it 5 times, it don't mean that it should forever there.
read out. So if it's been recently, it's been the only reason why I say branded is like it was a big comfort deck because I picked up the support really early on because it did remind me of like an earlier version of Invoked and stuff, and when we got the support for it was like huge, and all the Albaz support I really really love anyway. But if I can't have that answer, then what I'm gonna say instead is I've been really into Unchained.
That was the one I thought you were going to say. Yeah,
that's a good one.
That's the deck I've always loved. Like no matter what, if I'm having a really really bad time, I'll just pull out the deck and I'll still have fun with it, and I win games because of the fact that it can just, if it's not kept track of, it will just OTK out of nowhere.
it's not meta, but it's not shit by any means.
It just needs like that little bit more support to make it on the level of.
I agree. I mean, if Unchained had just a little bit more support, it would be one of the shifter decks in this format. I wouldn't be surprised if it tops with shifter, because it's one of the most unique shifter decks there is, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
What about
But
you,
yeah, whenever you played Yu-Gi-Oh in it, I've always seen you the happiest when you played Unchained, which is kind of what made me think about this. But yeah, Fabs, I feel like I know the answer to this question, and I'm going to ask you, I'm going to pose it to you.
I want to know what you think the answer is. What do you think the answer is? I feel like
I think the answer is Dark Lords, bro.
Oh, so you know what? If you asked me this 2.5 or so years ago, basically, if you asked me this before the set where the Ignista Field spell came out, I would have said Dark Lords 100% because Dark Lords everything about. I think the archetype's so cool. In case anyone doesn't know, I am religious. I'm a Christian, and I like the fact that it ties in with a lot of Judeo-Christian mythology as well. I think the actual playstyle of the deck is really unique as well, and unique and cool. But unfortunately, the deck is a bag of bricks. And
it's not great.
Yeah, and so I started cheating on Dark Lords a couple of years into our relationship with Ignista, when the Ignista Field spell came out, and that would be my answer. Now, I really really enjoy Ignista. Something about Arrival, it's nice having a big monster that my opponent can't out. I
was gonna say it made it quite a good pick during the branded Sword Soul.
It was a good pick. The format before that, and Lyrilus's format, because I was playing it then as well. Like
it's been a good pick since the Arrival came out. I think
pretty much since Fieldspell and Arrival have been out. It really just fundamentally comes down to the fact that this is a deck that essentially says, "Big monster, can you deal with it? Guess you lose."
Yeah,
that's lit.
Yeah, I remember having a really hard time with it whenever I saw it. Our regional, it was the main reason why I've always put some kind of answer in for a Towers, because if I saw my opponent was playing at Ignista and I had nothing, I knew that it was either make this or die.
Yeah.
Literally, I'll give make this or scoop the round. And I think decks like that are definitely stuff that you have to keep. It was the same thing with MathMech as well. Like it can dip in and out of format so well with just a little bit of flavor of like support, and that's the best thing. Is like when you have a deck that can stand the test of time almost and still be competitively or can still play regionals and stuff like that.
Yeah. So Daniel, you got to give us your answer now, bro.
I think Nate already knows this answer.
Oh God.
for the majority of the year, because a little bit of lore into my life here. At the start of this year, I was like, right, I got a bag of real life stuff on. I'm only going to play Yu-Gi-Oh casually. I mean, and yeah, I've ended up going to Nats, joining a fucking YouTube channel, topping an event, ended up buying Sprite, what have you. It didn't go to plan. But in between that, I have been, for the last year and a half, consistently playing what I believe to be the best anime deck, and that is Cyber Dragons. But probably the trap version. Because I believe that machine duplication is an awful card in Cyber Dragons, and you should not play more than one Cyber Dragon. But yeah, there's just something I find really fun. Not anymore in it, but because obviously we're not in Master Rule 4 anymore. But Simeon, me and you, we have a duel in it. You summon your big link monster. I'm like, yeah, cool. Set a monster, contact fuse.
I can't lie. Yeah, Cyber Dragon's like the one deck that I never tell anyone. Everyone's always like, oh, how do I do this? I'm like, I'm glad you're not playing Cyber Dragons. That's how you do it. Yeah, Cyber Dragons is
Clockwork Knight coming as well. DNA surgery for machines. You're mad.
There's only one person other than Dan who I knew that plays Cyber Dragon religiously, and they won't play it anymore because they consistently think it's just bad. And it's really hard. It's really sad to see because it was the person that I actually started playing like my first locals against, and it's quite sad. Cause,
I think I know who you're on about. Shout out to them.
Shout out to Levi.
Shout out to Levi.
Like it's really sad because like when you see people who have like iconic decks and
hello? Have I disconnected? Hello?
I don't know. Nathan got cybernetic overflowed.
Nathan, are you back? You disconnected on my side. I think on their side as well. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. But like as I was saying, it's a real shame when stuff like that happens because you see someone play an iconic deck and they're really good with it, and then all of a sudden the format just shifts and then they just can't play it anymore because the deck's not that great.
I'm gonna be real though, like it sucks fucking spending loads of money on a deck and then it doesn't get cooked by the ban list because I think that this illusion that you buy a deck and then it gets destroyed in the ban list a month later, I think that's just a lie.
That never happens. What really happens is they power creep it in 3 months. That's more.
Yeah. Because everyone thought Striker was going to die when Engage got banned, and well, here we are.
Yeah, Striker's still fine, but it's just Striker's just this pretty crap now. Same with Sword Soul. Sword Soul never really got banned. Branded never really got banned. They just got power crept.
Power crept in it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to play a deck that's power crept, why not have fun with it?
Yeah,
exactly.
One thing actually, we'll do a quick final thoughts because we are closing in on an hour again. Guys are doing a really good job of having these. I think an hour is going to end up being our length. I think it is a really good format for this.
That's what we're aiming for, I think. Yeah.
But one little bit of a tip for anyone who we gave the advice a couple shows ago that in my opinion, don't spend money on the game for the most part. Just don't spend money on it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
But if you really, really, really want to spend money on this format, you have nothing better to do with your money, then Naturia is quite viable. I would say they're probably going to be about tier 2 this format. I mean, in the OCG, they did get quite a lot of tops, and the deck is pennies. Almost, you can get a full Naturia core for probably about £12-13. It's probably going to go up soon.
Yeah, shout to Adam. He's been testing this. He took it to locals on Monday. Did pretty decently with it. The deck is legitimately not a joke. It's pretty decent.
Very, very good. For those of you who haven't experienced Nat Beast, well,
yeah.
Just if you don't like runic players, play Nat Beast. Yeah, and watch them scoop a lot.
If you don't like me, play Barkion.
Yeah, play Nat Beast. Yeah. So Naturia is very, very cheap. Pick it up now if you haven't already, guys. If you really want to spend money on it. But yeah, any final thoughts from you guys?
My final thoughts is don't be a weirdo to people on thumbnails. Don't be a weirdo full stop, actually. And buy out Cybernetic Overflow so that I can sell all my Ultras. I don't have any Ultras. I'm just kind of rambling now. But yeah, play what you like in it. Enjoy life.
Yeah. I guess the final thoughts here is just be kind. Like, genuinely, we're going through a shitty time at the moment, like, with everything that's happening at the moment. And the fact that we can still go outside and play, like, card games, and we still have numerous amounts of people trying to come into the community, whether that be female, male, any other genders, and, like, doesn't matter who you are. Like, we'll all be accepting at the end of the day. So just be kind to one another, and also play Branded because it's the best deck.
It's true. I was saying to someone the other day. There's only three things outside of my family and friends that I love in this world, and that's my cat, my lizard, and normal summoning Albaz into a board full of dragons.
I love it. We've just got a new slogan for the show, I think. Alright, guys, that was Yu-Gi-Oh! Show episode 13. I think. Thank you all for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Thank you very much. Subscribe to Sanctum Squad. Subscribe to Fabs.
Yeah.